Hey guys, how's it going? It's Christian on Yemen, CPA, author of Breaking the IRS Press, and also a CFO of many businesses. Guys, people entered in their questions. I have the answers. Today we're doing like a quick Q&A style. Usually, a lot of businesses, their selves are their own risk. That means when they're out of the office, some things aren't moving. That means some things aren't getting done. That means money isn't being made. So sometimes the owners are like a bottleneck of the company and they create the most risk. That means it's a sign that they don't have the proper system within their business for the business to run without them. So the common red flags, their profit and loss is usually great. That's the easy part, but it's when you get over to the balance sheet. The red flags are usually always on the balance sheet, and it kind of stops deals from being made. Some of the red flags I see is when the owners don't have the proper liability put into the company, or they have like company due tos, due froms as liabilities, but they have no intentions in ever paying that company back. So it shouldn't be a loan, and sometimes that kills the deal, right? So usually all these red flags, they lie on the balance sheet because a lot of CPAs and a lot of accounting professionals don't know how to properly do a balance sheet, right? So yeah, that's where a lot of red flags are at within a company. So profitable but still at risk. So you'd be amazed how many business owners, they're great at operations. Like they know how to go make money. That's not the issue. But one of the things that happen is when they have no real set structures. Know how I'm always using structure. For example, during COVID, there's a lot of companies that know how to make money. But sometimes down periods just happen in business, regardless of whether you're doing good or bad. Some companies don't have the proper systems in place to keep their money, or they don't know how much money to keep to budget for downtimes, nor do they have a budget on how they're going about their operations. So they're damn near just basically winging business each year without a budget. Go look at any government entity or any government agency, not saying they're perfect, or any school district, they always run by the budget. If it's not in the budget, they're not doing it. So should small business owners. They should have an annual meeting and they should have an annual budget to go over what they're doing and what they're not. I had a conversation with the ABA Therapy Center and we were hashing out, we were going back and forth of what their marketing budget needs to be. She didn't know basically how to go about creating a marketing plan. And therefore that marketing plan needed a budget because the only way to really jump up revenue is you marketing, right? So, that's some of the risks that happens when businesses are profitable. It's the point where you it's so funny. Usually my restaurants mainly have this. They're growing, they're doing great. They're making maybe, 4 million, 5 million. But then they kind of hit a roadblock. They don't know what to do next. It's because they don't have that franchisable mindset. They need to be able to basically use their great time in business, go get a great line of credit, and focus on expanding the company. Usually that requires getting some type of loans or line of credit. What most businesses do when they're doing great, they're making their money, they never go to the banks and say, hey, can I get a line of credit? They usually go ask the banks when they're doing bad. And banks going to look at you and say, no, we don't want to give you this loan or line of credit because I looked at your financials and I don't think you can pay us back. So when you're doing great and you're profitable and things are going good and you're smiling, your bank account's looking nice, you need to go to the bank just to get a line of credit. Not saying you have to go use it, but you need it in your back pocket because you never know when you may want to buy another location. You never know when you want to hit another expansion to get into another estate, or you never know if you want to do some type of different service line. You always need some capital to go do that. So what I'm looking for is their SOPs. Every part of their business or department needs to be written down. I got to say that every department, everything that you do needs to be written down and it needs to be copied. You would hate to have everyone come into office and everyone's doing things 5 different ways. That's going to be chaos, especially if you're trying to sell your company. That's going to be chaos. The people that's buying going to say no. As soon as the owner walks away, this company's going down. So I'm looking for documents, SOPs, videos that shows me how this business is ran on a day-to-day operations. That's mainly what I'm looking for. What are the signs that a business has outgrown its current structure? The old ways isn't working anymore. You see a lot of mom and pop shops not implementing AI. You see a lot of people not transitioning into what the economy wants you to transition to, right? So you can see things that, like, maybe they're getting more customer complaints, client complaints. Maybe they're losing staff. These are signs that, like, hey, the economy is like changing, and you probably outgrown the current structure. You need to revamp it. To be honest, you need to be updating your SOP at minimum every year because things change. In our firm, tax law changes. There's different laws that come in and out. That means we have to readjust our structure. There's different people that we hire in, so that means we have to switch up how we do business, switch up some of the technology we use to support everybody. So you should always look at times, the market, or the economy, just to see what is everybody else doing, what are my competitors are doing, and that kind of gives you a clue to know that okay, I outgrown this current structure that I'm in now. I need to switch it up. So, guys, we got a next question from another viewer. How do internal controls change as a company moves from survival to growth? So when a company's in survival, that means kind of like paycheck to paycheck. You're barely making bills. You're barely able to pay stuff. When you're growing, that means, okay, there's a little bit more money in the bank account for us to go use to grow the business. Because in order to grow the business, there's only really one way. You have to put money towards something. You got to put money and energy towards something. Just have to. So in order to do that, you have to change basically your revenue approach, your marketing approach. How am I going to make more money? One of the internal controls someone can place is like, hey, if a lead comes in, a new sale or a new potential sale, and they have this certain issue, we don't want to take it on because we know that issue is a small issue and that's not really worth our time anymore. So that's just an internal control I put within my sales generation department. Right? So these are things you can implement within your business just so you know that you're moving efficiently. Because putting internal controls into anything, that just means we're putting SOPs and fine guardrails so you can move efficiently and not waste any motion. Why do businesses get more complex? They forget about this one simple rule. It's keeping things simple. They gotta keep things simple. When they try to add too many services, too many ways to deliver, they're too extremely passionate. They have to keep the process simple for the client because you gotta remember, people are buying from you because they have a problem that needs to be solved. They're not an expert in that problem, or else they will be able to solve it themselves. You need to keep your whole entire process simple, where it's kind of easy for them to work with you. You don't want to make it hard. You don't want to give them too many options. You want to keep a straight path on how we're going to get this done. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is you getting that problem solved from them. That's it.